Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into something really exciting, running AI language models right on your own computer. You've probably used ChatGPT or Claude, but did you know you can run similar AI models locally on your own machine? That's right, no internet required, complete privacy, and no usage limits. Why go local? First, privacy. Your data never leaves your computer. Everything you type stays on your machine, which is huge if you're working with sensitive information or just value your privacy. Second, cost. Once you download a model, it's yours. No subscriptions, no per-token charges, no monthly fees. Third, customization. You can fine-tune models, experiment with different parameters, and even run specialized models designed for specific tasks. And finally, offline access. Internet down? No problem. Your AI is always available. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to get started with lmstudio, one of the easiest and most powerful tools for running local AI models. So, what exactly is lmstudio? Think of it as your personal AI control center. Here's what makes lmstudio special. It has a clean, user-friendly interface. No command line required. You can browse, download, and run models with just a few clicks. It's cross-platform, running smoothly on Windows, Mac, and Linux. lmstudio supports a huge variety of models from Huggingface, so you have thousands of options to choose from. Everything from small, efficient models to powerful, cutting-edge ones. It also includes hardware acceleration, automatically using your GPU if you have one, which makes everything faster. Plus, it has a built-in chat interface and even a local API server, so you can integrate these models into your own applications. Whether you're a developer, a content creator, a researcher, or just curious about AI, lmstudio gives you professional-grade AI tools right on your desktop. All right, let's get lmstudio installed. First, open your web browser and go to lmstudio.ai. You'll land on the homepage. Right at the top, you'll see a big download button. The website automatically detects your operating system, so it should show the right version for your computer. Before we download, let me mention the system requirements quickly. You'll need at least 8 GB of RAM, though 16 GB or more is recommended. About 10 to 20 GB of free storage space for the application and models. And if you have a modern GPU, that's a bonus but not required. For Windows users, click the download button to get the Windows installer. It'll download an exe file, usually something like lmstudiosetup.exe. Once downloaded, find the file in your Downloads folder and double-click it. Windows might show a security warning. Click More Info and then run anyway if you trust the source, which we do. This is the official site. The installer will launch. Click Next through the setup wizard. You can choose your installation location or stick with the default, which is usually fine. Click Install and wait for it to complete. This should only take a minute or two. Once finished, you can choose to launch lmstudio immediately. Click Finish and the application will start. For Mac users, click the Download button for Mac. You'll get a DMG file. Once downloaded, open the DMG file from your Downloads folder. You'll see the lmstudio icon and an Applications folder shortcut. Simply drag the lmstudio icon to the Applications folder. After copying is complete, open your Applications folder and find lmstudio. No matter which operating system you're using, when lmstudio first launches, it might ask for some permissions, like network access or storage access. Grant these so the app can download models and function properly. You'll see a welcome screen. Take a moment to familiarize yourself with the interface. On the left, you'll see the main navigation, and in the center, you'll see the main workspace. Now let's configure lmstudio for optimal performance. Click on the settings icon, usually in the top right or in the sidebar. Here are the key settings you need to know. Model storage location. This is where lmstudio saves downloaded models. Make sure this points to a drive with plenty of space. Models can range from 2 GB to 50 GB or more depending on their size. GPU settings. If you have an NVIDIA GPU, make sure GPU acceleration is enabled. You can choose how many layers to offload to the GPU. More layers mean better performance but require more VRAM. Start with Auto and adjust if needed. For Apple Silicon Macs, metal acceleration should be enabled by default. which is great for performance. Context length. This determines how much text the model can remember in a conversation. Higher is better, but uses more RAM. Start with 2048 or 4096 and increase if you need longer conversations. Thread count. This affects CPU performance. lmstudio usually auto-detects the best setting, but you can manually set it to the number of CPU cores you have for better performance. All right, let's download your first model. In lmstudio, look for the Search or Discover tab in the left sidebar. You'll see a search bar at the top. lmstudio connects directly to Huggingface, so you have access to thousands of models. For your first model, I recommend searching for something like Llama 3.2 or Mistral 7B. These are popular, well-performing models that run well on most systems. When you find a model you like, click on it to see details. You'll see different versions or quantizations of the model. These are compressed versions that trade a bit of quality for much better performance. For most users, I recommend GGUF format models with Q4 or Q5 quantization. These offer a great balance of quality and speed. Click the download button next to the version you want. The download will start, and you'll see progress in the download section. Depending on your internet speed and the model size, this could take a few minutes to an hour. Once your model is downloaded, go to the Chat tab in the left sidebar. At the top, you'll see a drop-down to select a model. Click it and choose the model you just downloaded. Below that, you'll see the model settings. Here's what matters. Temperature controls randomness. Lower values, 0.1 to 0.5, make output more focused and deterministic. Higher values, 0.7 to 1.0, make it more creative and varied. Start with 0.7. Max tokens, how long the model's responses can be. Set this based on your needs. 2048 is a good default. Top P and Top K. These control sampling. The defaults are usually fine, but you can experiment. Lower values make output more conservative. Click Load Model or Start, and wait a few seconds for the model to initialize. Once it's loaded, you'll see the chat interface. Type a message and hit Enter. The model will generate a response right there on your machine. Let me give you some great models to try, depending on your needs and hardware. For beginners or those working with lower-end hardware, specifically systems with 8 to 16 gigabytes of RAM, there are several models that are smaller or quantized, making them much easier to run on modest hardware setups. First up is Qwen 2.5 Omni 7B from Alibaba. This model has approximately 7 billion parameters and is part of the Qwen 3 family. It's particularly good for instruction-following tasks and multimodal input, meaning it can handle both text and images in some variants. With quantization at 4-bit, it's quite plausible to run this on a system with 8 to 16 gigabytes of RAM, or even a modest GPU, making it an excellent starter model. It really excels at general language tasks while keeping hardware costs low. Then there's Llama 3.18b from Meta, which, as the name suggests, has 8 billion parameters. It's designed for multilingual dialogue and code tasks as well. This one sits around the upper end of beginner hardware requirements. While 8 to 16 gigabytes of RAM might be tight, quantized versions definitely help make it more accessible. It excels at general assistant and chat tasks, with fairly strong capability for its size. Finally, for the beginner tier, we have Phi 3 Mini, a 3.8 billion parameter model designed specifically for phone or very modest hardware. This has very low hardware requirements, and if you're truly running on phone-level hardware, this is your model. It excels at lightweight deployment and learning or training experiments. A quick tip for this beginner tier: use quantization, particularly 4-bit where available. Keep your context lengths modest, and expect slower inference and less quote-unquote brain power compared to larger models. Also note that community threads generally recommend at least 8 gigabytes of RAM for these models. Moving to the mid-range tier, for systems with 16 to 32 gigabytes of RAM, and ideally a good GPU, you have more powerful options available. The model card for one of these options states that it can run on a single RTX 4090 or a Mac with 32 gigabytes of RAM once quantized. If you have approximately 24 to 32 gigabytes of RAM or a GPU with equivalent VRAM, you can run this with decent performance. These models excel at instruction following, conversational tasks, long context handling, and vision understanding in some variants. Llama 3.170b, the text-only version, while being a large model at 70 billion parameters, can actually be run with optimizations and quantization on good mid-range rigs. It sits on the lower bound of mid-range if you have a good GPU and approximately 32 gigabytes of RAM. Otherwise, it might be borderline for your system. This model excels at more complex reasoning, code generation, and larger context tasks relative to the models under 10 billion parameters. There's also Devstral Small from Mistral, which is a coding-focused model optimized specifically for software engineering and code tasks. With 16 to 32 gigabytes of RAM, you can use this for coding assistant tasks, and it excels at coding, editing codebases, and agentic workflows relating to development. A tip for the mid-range tier: you'll get much better performance in both speed and quality compared to the beginner tier. Still consider your GPU VRAM if inference uses GPU, or look into optimized quantized versions for CPU. Also, use modest context lengths to maintain good speed. Now for high-end systems with 32 gigabytes or more of RAM and a good GPU, we're talking serious local hardware here. High RAM, high VRAM GPU, or even multiple GPUs for running large models. Mistral Large 2, with approximately 123 billion parameters, is an open-weight model under the Mistral Research license. This is designed for a multi-GPU workstation or top-tier single GPU with large VRAM plus high RAM. It excels at high-end reasoning, domain-specific fine-tuning, and large context handling. Finally, there's GPT-OSS120B from OpenAI, the 120 billion parameter version of the open-weight GPT-OSS family. This is targeted at high-end hardware, such as an RTX with more than 24 gigabytes of VRAM or multiple GPUs. It excels at state-of-the-art tasks that go beyond what most consumer rigs can handle. lmstudio makes downloading from Huggingface super easy, but let me show you how to browse Huggingface directly if you want more options. Open your browser and go to huggingface.co. Use the search bar and look for models with gguf in the title. That's the format lmstudio uses. When you find an interesting model, look at its model card. This tells you what the model is good at, its size, and how to use it. Check the Files and Versions tab to see available quantizations. Look for files ending in .gguf. You have two options. Copy the model name and search for it directly in lmstudio, or download the gguf file manually and place it in your lmstudio models folder. To find your models folder, go to lmstudio settings and check the model storage location we set up earlier. Pro tip: look for models with lots of downloads and positive community feedback. Check the model's license too. Some are free for personal use, others have commercial restrictions. Also, pay attention to the quantization level. As I mentioned earlier, Q4K_M or Q5_KT are great starting points. Q8 gives better quality but is much larger and slower. Q2 or Q3 are smaller but noticeably lower quality. And there you have it. You now have lmstudio installed, configured, and you know how to download and run AI models right on your own computer. This is just the beginning. As you get comfortable, you can experiment with different models, adjust settings for optimal performance, and even use lmstudio's API server to build your own AI-powered applications. The local AI community is growing rapidly, with new models coming out all the time. You're now part of that community, with the power to run cutting-edge AI privately and offline. If you found this tutorial helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more AI tutorials. Drop a comment below, telling me which model you tried first and what you're planning to use local AI for. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy experimenting with your local AI.